Matthew 14, 22 through 33 will be reading from the New King James Version. If you have it, say amen. If you do not have it, it is on the screens here. Our ushers have Bibles for you. If you need it, just raise your hand. And the Bible reads, immediately Jesus made his disciples get into the boat and go before him to the other side, while he sent the multitudes away. And when he had sent the multitudes away, he went up on the mountain by himself to pray. Now when evening came, he was there all alone. But the boat was now in the middle of the sea, tossed by the waves, for the wind was contrary. Now in the fourth watch of the night, Jesus went to them walking on the sea. And when the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they troubled, saying, it's a ghost. And they cried out for fear. But immediately Jesus spoke to them, saying, be of a good cheer. It is I. Do not be afraid. And then Peter answered him and said, Lord, if it's you, command me to walk to you on the water. So he said, come. And when Peter had come down out of the boat, he walked on the water to go to Jesus. But when he saw that the wind was boisterous, he was afraid, and beginning to sink, he cried out, saying, Lord, save me. And immediately Jesus stretched out his hand and caught him, and said to him, O you of little faith, why did you doubt? And when they got in the boat, the wind ceased. Then those who were in the boat came and worshiped him, saying, truly, you are the Son of God. You may be seated. I would like to bless you on this morning from the topic of, are you in it or are you on it? Are you in it or are you on it? In our lives, there's going to be absolutely times when our faith is going to be tested. Quite often, many of these would be very obvious time of testing, such as sickness, sometimes losing your job, losing loved ones, and the list goes on. There are also going to be times when others around you or around us will not even know that the testing is happening in our lives, such as times of doubting, times of fear, and times of inner struggle. And I want you to understand on this morning that when I mention the word testing, I am not speaking about something that God puts into our lives, but rather the things that God allows into our lives that test our faith. A lot of times when something bad happens to us in many people's lives, they believe that God is making this happen to them because of some sin or something they did to make God mad. But you have to understand, you can't make God mad, nor you can't upset him. But understand, however, that God does not need to bring something bad into our lives, because the nature and the curses of this world does that all by itself. And according to the scripture in Matthew 5:45, he already declared to us that the rain falls on the just and the unjust. He says that ye may be the children of your Father, which is in heaven, for he maketh his sun to rise on the evil and on the good, send the rain on the just and the unjust. So what are you saying, JB? I'm just simply saying that stuff happens to everybody. Neither you, neither myself are absent from bad things or bad feelings that may happen in our lives. And the fact that we are Christians on this morning, it does not exempt us from the rain that naturally falls from the sky. So every now and then, the forces at work or the forces at home or anything in this world is going to collide. And when they do, you and I may be very well found in the middle of it all. Bad stuff happens to everybody. It happens all the time. It happens every day, whether you're a Christian or a non-Christian, a believer or a non-believer. Understand that the rain not only just falls on the just, but it also falls on the unjust. Oftentimes we go to God, we ask God, please keep bad stuff from happening to me, Lord. Keep bad people, keep negative vibes away from me. And while he may protect us from those things, we have to understand that he may allow us to go through some of these things in order for our faith to become stronger. Sometimes God is going to take you through some things in order to get you to some things. And if I was to give you an analogy on this morning, it would be compared to football. During the football season, players go through an off-season training. What they're trying to do is get their body in condition and get ready for the season. Once they go through the off-season training, then they move to what's called the preseason. In that preseason, the coaches are trying to evaluate and check out the players to see who will be able to make it to the regular season. And that's how God works with us. He works with us through a preseason. He prepares us for what it is He wants us to do and what He has for us to see if we're ready to walking into our season. And sometimes we all can have the same season going on at the same time. And so with the NFL, what they do, they have to cut some players. And once they cut those players have to wait till next season in order to make the team. Well, with God, He gonna move some of us out the way because it's not time for our season yet. And we make it to the regular season. And so when they go through the regular season, their ultimate goal is to make it to the Super Bowl. Just like our ultimate goal is to make it to heaven. So while everybody can't walk into the same season, you gotta understand that God has a plan for each and every one of us. In our reading, we see that Peter was in the midst of a raging storm. It says that the winds was blowing. It says that the waves perhaps was crashing down around him. But one minute it says that he's on top of this thing that could destroy him. And then the next minute he's in the midst of it. So let me ask you on this morning, are you on top of that thing that you are struggling with? Or are you in it? Do you have control over it, or do it has control over you? See, you can be in control of a situation. Don't miss this. You can be in control of a situation without having control of a situation. See, that's just like someone maybe getting ready to go into surgery on this week. And they may say that I'm going to have surgery, and I understand that I'm not going to have control of the situation, but I'm going to be in control of that situation. You might say, well, but how are you going to be in control of the situation? Because your faith is that God has it all under control. 1 minute it says that Peter, or 1 minute the Bible shows us that Peter is being proactive. It demonstrates that his faith is strong. He is bold, he is confident, he is sure that he's getting ready to step out the boat. He knows that as he is stepping out the boat and placing his first step on the water, that Jesus is not going to let him down. And so Peter begins to walk, as many of us do. We know how to get that business started. We know how to get it registered. We know what type of business we want to do. And some of us will step our foot out the boat. But it's after we step out the boat that we don't have enough faith to move forward. And so what Peter demonstrates is that he has enough faith to get out the boat. But once his foot step on water, he don't have enough faith to walk over to Jesus. But we want to see what Jesus did for Peter. And so as Peter begins to walk, he's believing God will be there for him. But then life happens with many of us. We know how to get started. We get off to a good start. We make a New Year's resolution, and January 1st comes, we go full speed with that New Year's resolution, but then life happens. The storms get louder around us. The waves get higher. Negative people start talking in our ears, telling we'll never amount to anything. We can't do this, we can't do that. And then the things that we were once on top of in our life has now began to pull us down. And then that fear that was not a problem at first is now becoming a problem. That doubt that you totally had under control the night you was baptized and received the Holy Spirit is now beginning to pull you down. But what was once under your feet is now beginning to swallow you up. So I'm going to ask you several times on this morning. Are you proactive when it comes to the problems in your life, or are you reactive? You see, if you're proactive, that means you are praying before you need to pray. If you are proactive in your walk with God, that means you are reading your Bible and studying His Word so that you can grow. Not because you are searching for the reason of your problems. If you are proactive, you are walking on the problems. If you are proactive, you are on top of things spiritually. Amen. But if you are like Peter, who began to sink, then your walk with God has become reactive. This means that you are no longer in control of the things that happen in your life, but rather they are now in control of you. You are now responding to those problems instead of those problems responding to you, your faith, or your prayers. So if you have to wait until a problem in your life to begin to pray, then you waited too long. Oftentimes, a lot of us, we don't pray until we get in some trouble. And we say things like, Lord, if you just get my child out of this situation, I promise you I'll start praying more. Lord, if you get me out of this situation, I promise I'll be in church next Sunday. Lord, if you get me out of this situation, I'll do this, I'll do that. But if you was already praying and being proactive with your walk with God, you won't have to worry about praying when you need to pray. So again, I ask you on this morning, are you on it or are you in it? Is it under control of your faith and your knowledge of God's will, or is it controlling your faith and knowledge of God's will? So if you're not praying and believing God, then you're like Peter. You're sinking in the water. You now need Jesus to pull you up out of your situation, whatever it is that you may be going through. But had Peter prepared himself, like some of us should do, for the day he would someday walk on water with Jesus, he may not have started to sink. But if you are familiar with this passage, and if you read it, and like I read it, you got to give Peter a lot of credit. Because Peter was willing to do what nobody else in the boat was willing to do. And that was the first step, was to just step out the boat. Sometimes we know what it is we want to do. We know what type of business we want to do. We know we want to go back to school and further our career. We know we want to get this position, but we just scared to take that first step. But we have to be reminded of Peter. He wasn't the only one in that boat. He had others around him in that boat. But their faith wasn't strong enough. They didn't even have a little bit of faith to step out of the boat and go to Jesus. But in verse 31, it says that Jesus stretched out his hand and he caught Peter. But once he brought Peter in to him, he said to Peter, oh, you a little faith. Why did you doubt? Why are you doubting Jesus? He's already declared to us that he knows the plans that he has for us. He's just waiting for us to step out the boat and reach out to him. When I first read this verse, it sounds like Jesus was giving Peter a hard time because he had just a small amount of faith. But then I was reminded of the scriptures in Matthew 17:20, where he says that if you have faith as a grain of a mustard seed, I can start right there. That can preach by itself. But Jesus went on. He says that ye shall say unto this mountain, remove hence to yonder place, and it shall remove, and nothing shall be impossible to you. So evidently Jesus was asking Peter, why did you doubt me? And he may be asking you on this one, why are you doubting me? When in fact you did have just a little faith. If I was to give you an illustration or an analogy, faith is like light. You don't have to have a lot of it in order for it to shine in the darkness. As a matter of fact, a smaller light is more visible the darker it gets. So Jesus is letting Peter know that he did not have to sink. He had enough faith to overcome the storm, but Jesus was asking Peter, why did you doubt me? And see, some people believe that either you have faith or you have doubt. They believe you're going to have one or the other. They also believe that if your faith is very small, then your doubt must be very large, or vice versa. But we're not talking about the natural things here on today. We are talking about something spiritual. In fact, when your faith is at its absolute lowest, it still outweighs any amount of doubt that will still come along with that. Again, he says in Matthew 17:20, if ye have the faith as a grain of a mustard seed. If you know what a mustard seed is, it's very small. I mean, you can barely see them. But that's all God is saying, that that's all we need. According to his word, that's enough to move a mountain. I don't think y'all understand that. You got some situations in your life that might be going on. You trying to figure out how you're going to get over this mountain. You trying to figure out how you're going to get this financial blessing. You trying to figure out how you're going to pay your next rent. You're trying to figure out how you're going to start this business. But all God is trying to tell you, I just need you to have just a little bit of faith. Just put just a little bit of faith in me, and I promise you, I'll take you further. So according to this passage, it says that Peter had little faith according to Jesus. If he had known to trust his little faith, he would have never began to sink in the storm. Peter's faith in God, however small, was needed. That's all it was that Peter needed. So you might say on this morning, well, Brother Butler, I came in here, I'm hanging on my last thread of faith today. And my response to you will be, you know what? That's good. Because that's all you need. If ye have faith as a grain of a mustard seed, ye shall say unto this mountain. Here's my favorite part about that whole scripture here. It says that ye shall say to this mountain. This little, you got this mustard seed in your hand. You can barely see that it's in your hand. Yet and still, I got this big old mountain in front of me that I can clearly see. And I know without the grace of God, I can't move this mountain out the way. But what God is saying, this little seed that you have in your hand, you need to speak to that mountain. You need to speak to the situation, whatever it is that you may be going through. You need to declare on this morning, depression, you are not going to destroy me. Worry, you will not continue in my life. Situation, I am going to rise above you. Whatever it is that you're going through on this morning, you need to declare to Jesus that I'm going to say, move out of my way. So are you reactive or are you proactive? Are you on it or are you in it? There's a three-letter word that a lot of us, we use a lot, not understanding that we just need just a little bit of faith. And that word is but. I want this financial blessing, but. I want this new business, but. I want this promotion, but. And God is trying to tell us we just need to move that but out the way and substitute it with and. I'm going to get this business and. I'm going to get this financial blessing and. See, he already telling you need to speak to the mountain. Y'all not getting on this one because this is deeper. You're saying a mustard seed. This little old thing to move this big old mountain out of the way. There's nothing that's impossible for God. He's declared to us in Jeremiah 29:11 that he knows the plans that he has for us. He just needs you to just follow his lead. But we get caught up sometimes and we go to the Lord in prayer and we start telling God how he should bless us. We tell God that, well, you know, I need you to do this right now. I need you this minute, Lord. And you might need him this minute, but the particular blessing that you are asking for, he's already said that it may not be your season yet for it. Everybody can't have the same season. I don't know who I'm speaking to on this morning. I don't know who's going through something on this morning, but you have to realize and understand that, first of all, you would not be here without Jesus. But you also need to understand that whatever it is that you have, whatever it is that you want to do, you need to just do it. It ain't crazy until you accomplish what it is that you might do. There's somebody in here. There's somebody in here who's looking for a job. Somebody that lost their job, y'all. I'm speaking to myself right now. But I gotta have enough faith to know, you know what, God? I know you got me. I know you got me and my family. Yeah, those people back there, they did what they did to me, but I was able to move on. See, people, when they're intimidated by you, that's when they want to start to eliminate you. See, I know what good I have and what good I can bring to the job. Sometimes you got to speak to yourself. You got to encourage your own self. You can't wait till you come here on Sunday morning and wait for Brother Taylor, Brother Brown to tell you how good of a person you are. You got to get up in the morning, you got to look in that mirror, and you said depression? Nah, not today. Not only financial blessing, yes, right here today. Business, yes, right here today. I'm more than a conqueror, and if you believe that, somebody should be on their feet and give God some praise on this morning. See, some of y'all, you come in here and you sit down and you act like God hadn't done nothing for you, because you got all these people around you. This is between you and God. You shouldn't have to wait till you come in and start worshiping God. Your worship should have started when you got out of bed and you realize you able to put one foot in front of the other. That's when your worship should have started with God. So again, are you in it or are you on it? God is ready to bless somebody on this morning. I don't know who, I don't know your situation. It's not my business to know that. That's between you and God. Just understand that your current situation don't have to be your final destination. Whatever it is you're going through right now is only temporary because he has something better else planned for you. He's not going to take you out of something that's doing good for you to put you in something worse. See, to you, it may seem worse because it's not what you want, but you got to remember, this ain't your life. This life that you live in is God. He has the plans for you. Let's stand on your feet.